Okay. So what we are talking about is, so these are the things what we have seen in the last class. Like I said about how to work with the validations. So I said about inbuilt validators, and yes, I said about using clean method and using clean field name method. And even I said about custom validators, right? So when you see inbuilt validators, and these are available in Django.core.validators. And I said about some of the inbuilt validators, like minimum length validator, maximum length validator, like minimum value validator, maximum value. Yes. So all these things we have seen in the last class, right? So after this, let me tell you about, I said you can develop a views in two ways. Okay. So what we are talking about is class-based views. Okay, this is class-based views. So class-based views. I said you can develop the views in two ways. So one is called as a function-based views. See, one is called function-based views, and one more is called as a class-based views. Okay. So here view, I said whenever you are talking about web application development, so whenever you are talking about web application development, so here request and response. So views are responsible for taking or receiving request and processing it and generating what here response. So view acts as a controller, and views are responsible in taking request. Request is nothing but input. So it will take the input from the client and process it. It will take the input from the client and process it and generate what here output. So this output is nothing but what here response. What is the output is called here response, right? And in Django, in DJANGO, views are defined in two ways. Views are defined in two ways. One is function-based views. Okay, function-based views. Okay, function-based views. And second one is what here? Class-based views. So there are two types of views here. One is function-based views, and one more is what? Class-based views. Okay. So already I said about function-based views. Okay. So what are the limitations? The limitations of function-based views. What are the limitations of function-based views? Okay, first one is it doesn't provide reusability, not provide not provide reusability and extensibility. It will not provide reusability and extensibility. And there is no clear separation of there's no clear separation of request logic. There's no clear separation of which one? Request logic. So not provide reusability and what? Extensibility. So what is the meaning of this? For example, I develop one view. I want to add some new features. I develop one view, but I want to add some new features without modifying it. So I cannot add a new features into a view function without modifying it. So that is what you mean by extensibility. And I cannot use the functionality of one view inside what another view. I cannot use it. I cannot use the functionality of one view inside what another view. I want to include the content of one view inside what another view. So that I cannot do it by using which one? Function based views. Okay. So there is no reusability and there is no what here? Extensibility. And there is no clear separation of which logic here? Request logic. For example, one view, you'll be sending a request by using various methods. You may send a request by using get method and post method, but you are combining this both the request methods in one function only. You are combining here. You are combining okay request methods logic in one function. You are combining request method logic in one function only. For example, if you see in the previous example, we develop one form, okay, form view. We develop one view and that view handle two requests, get request and post request. But both are combined in one function only. There's no clear separation of get request and what post request. Now you want to do changes in post, you have to do changes in the view. You want to do changes in get, you have to do changes in what view. So you are combining both the request methods into what one function. Then in that case, what will happen? Maintaining your code also becomes what complex. Getting on. So there is no clear separation of which logic request logic, and not provide the reusability and what extensibility. Okay. So these are the limitations. These are the limitations of which one here function based views. But there is an advantage. What is the advantage of function based views is, so as a beginner when you start learning views, you start with function based views. It's nothing but easy to what here understand, easy to understand. And not only that, when it comes to the function based view, a programmer can control the logic. Means you write all the logic. You don't use any predefined logic. Everything is written by whom? Programmer. So here programmer having full control on which one here view. So here you are not using any built-in logic. You are writing everything inside a view. Okay, you are writing everything inside what? View. So this is the advantage. What is the advantage? Easy to understand. And programmer have full control on what? View, right? But when it comes to that is what we'll discuss in class-based view, and easy to understand and programmer having full control on what? View, because everything is written by whom? Programmer. Everything is written by whom? Programmer only, right? So third one is, okay, when you talk about third one, now this is used when you are working with simple projects but not complex projects. Okay, when you are working with which one? Simple projects or small projects but not big projects. You don't write everything. Because it doesn't provide reusability and what? Extensibility. Because when it comes to the Django is developed based on one principle. Django is developed based on one principle. And what is the principle it uses? Dry principle. It is developed by using one principle called which one? Dry. Dry is nothing but don't repeat yourself. Means you don't repeat the code again and again. You write the code once and use it how many times? Number of times. So here there is no reusability and there is no extensibility. So these limitations can be avoided These limitations can be avoided. Okay, now there is no clear separation of this business logic and this, and there's no predefined things. You have to write a lot of code because everything is written by whom? Programmer. You need to write the same code again and again. Yes or no? For example, you have an insertion logic. You have to write an insertion logic in every view. If it is an updation logic, you have to write updation logic in what? Every view. There is a rendering logic. You have to write the rendering logic in every view. You are repeating the same thing again and again. Getting on? You are repeating the same thing again and again, right? You are repeating the same thing again and again. Okay, so there is no reusability, and extensibility is, I said, like I want to add some new features. I want to add some new features into the existing view without modifying it. Okay, I want to add some new features to the existing view without modifying it. How can I add new features into the existing view without modifying it? Generally, you can use the decorators. Generally, you can use what? Decorators. Okay, but decorator is not a view. Decorator is not a view, right? Decorator is a view or it is a simple function. Simple function. Yes or no? It is not a view, but I want to develop a view. Okay. I want to develop a view where I want to add some new features. So I cannot use one view inside another view. I cannot use the content of one view inside what? Another view. Yes. So that is not possible because view should be called by browser. You call from the browser. How you call the view from the browser? So browser send a request to what? View, and view will process the request and generate the response. Getting on. So there is no extensibility. But I want to have this reusability as well as what? Extensibility, and there is a clear separation of which one? Request logic. Now this can be implemented by using which one? Class-based view. Now class-based view is nothing but you are trying to develop a view by using object-oriented principles. You are developing a view by using object-oriented principles. What are the object-oriented principles? Encapsulation, polymorphism, and inheritance. Encapsulation, polymorphism, and inheritance. So inheritance provides a reusability and what? Extensibility. Encapsulation provides what? Modularity. And polymorphism provides again reusability and extensibility by using overriding. You can try to override certain things so that you can add some new features. So that you can add what? Some new features. So all these are provided by which views? Class-based views. So class-based views. Now let's coding. Now this is class. Now class-based views are developed using which principles? Object-oriented programming principles. It is developed by using object-oriented programming principles, or what is that? Concepts. Okay, so it's nothing but class-based views are developed using using what? Encapsulation, polymorphism, and what is that? Inheritance. You are implementing all these concepts while developing which one? Class-based views. So the advantage of inheritance is reusability and extensibility. The advantage of polymorphism is reusability and what? Extensibility. Right. Yeah. Okay, right. This is object-oriented programming concepts. So that is what? Okay. Okay, right. So OOPS concept only. OOPS concept, OOP concept. Okay. Right. So the advantage of class-based views, the advantage of which one here? Class-based views. Okay, the advantage of class-based views. So the first one is, now there is a reusability and what extensibility. So it provides reusability and what extensibility. How? By using inheritance. You write a view. Okay, you want to add some new features into that view. Then what do you do? It you inherit and override. You inherit and what? Override. Yes or no? So that will provide what? Reusability as well as extensibility. Reusability and extensibility. Okay, so that is the advantage of class-based views, and there is a clear separation. There is a clear separation. So there is a clear separation of request methods logic. There is a clear separation of request methods logic, and class-based viewers, okay, provides pre-written. It will provide what? Pre-written functionality. It will provide pre-written functionality. Means you don't require to write lot of code. You can just inherit it. You don't require to develop lot of code. It is provided by which one? Class-based views only. So pre-written functionality is provided. So it means you don't require to repeat the same code again and again. You don't require to repeat the same code again and again, right? But the problem with the limitations of class-based views is, now this is less coding. What is the meaning of this? Is less coding. Means as a developer, you don't write a lot of code, but you'll try to use existing code. So what is the limitation of class-based views? The limitation of class-based views is there is no control on the code. Okay, because you're trying to use which code? Existing code. Means the code is already written. The code is already written. So if you want to control it, you have to modify it. It means you have not written that logic. That logic is already written, but you are just using it. So there is no control. There is no control. There is no control on. Okay, there is no control on which one? View, because you try to use existing logic, which is abstract, means hidden, which is hidden. Okay, because that is provided by views on. For example, you have a create view, you have an update view, you have a delete view. So update view is used for updating, delete view is used for deleting, and the list view is for listing. So that logic is already written. You have to give only model. You have to give a model and you have to give a template and you have to give the context object. That's it. Now remaining everything is done by whom? Views only. So it means, are you writing the code or just giving only information? Just giving only information. Means you don't have complete control on which one? View. Getting on. So because you are trying to use existing views. But these are the advantages. Now you have a more advantages, but only one limitation, but it becomes somewhat complex. Because if you want to control it, you have to modify the existing functionality. You have to modify the existing functionality if you want to control it. Ring on, right? So then this is about class-based views. So you can develop a views in two ways. One is function using what? Class. Like what you learn in multi-threading, right? How many ways can you develop a threads? Two ways: function-based, class-based. Yes or no? In the same way, how many ways can you develop a views? Two ways. One is function-based and one more is class-based. You write a function and develop a view. You write a class and develop a view. You write a function and develop a view. You write a class and develop a view. Now you have a different types of views. Okay. Okay. So DJANGO provides different types of views for developing view class. for developing what? View class. DJANGO provide different types of views for developing what? View class. And these are exists. Okay, these are exist within, okay, DJANGO dot core package. These are exist in DJANGO dot core package. Now there are two things, DJANGO dot core dot views, and one more is DJANGO dot core dot, okay, views dot, what is that here? Generic. Okay, there are two packages out there. One is DJANGO dot core dot views package, and one more is DJANGO dot core dot views dot generic. And when this contain generic views, this contain what here? Generic view. Okay. Now for all the views, which one is a super class is view. Now let me tell you the basic steps. Let me tell you the basic steps for developing class based views. What are the basic steps for developing class based views? Basic steps for developing class based views. Okay. So what is the first thing? You have to develop a class. You have to develop a class. Develop. Okay, develop. What is the first step is? Develop a class. But if you write a class, is it that class becomes a view? If you develop a class, is it that class becomes a view? If you want to develop a thread, how you develop a thread? Or if you want to develop a thread, how you develop a thread? By inheriting. How you develop a thread? By inheriting which class? Thread class. Okay, you develop a thread by inheriting which class? Thread class. In the same way, if you want to develop a view, I should develop a view by inheriting which class? View class. Getting on that? Okay, so who's providing these abstracts? By the Django. Getting on it? So class-based view means you just write a class. No. If you write a class, your Django understand it is that is a viewer? No. So whenever you are building a class-based views, that view must inherit the properties of which one? View. Getting on it? So you need to develop it by following the rules given by what? Django. And these are available in what? Two packages. One is django.core.views and one more is django.core.views. What? Generic. These are the two packages. These are the two packages. So develop a class by inheriting. Develop a class by inheriting. Inheriting what? View class. Inheriting which class? View classes. View class. Then after inheriting view class, what do you do it? Override. What do you do it? Override the methods. Override the methods of which class? View class. Override the methods of which class? View class. Getting on? So only two steps here. You need to override methods or you need to override what? Attributes. So it is also provide attributes. Override. Override which one? Attributes. Or which class? Super class. Override attributes of which class? Super class. Okay, now you have a class. What is the name of the class? Is view class. What is the name of the class? View is a class. If you want to develop a view, okay, you develop a view by inheriting which class? View class. Now, view is a base class for developing all the views. Either it is predefined views or user-defined views. It is inherited from which class? View class. And view is a super class for all the views. View is a super class for all the views. And where this view is available in django.core.what? Views. django.core.views. The way how you develop a thread by inheriting which class? Thread class. The way how you develop a thread by inheriting which class? Thread class. In the same way you are developing a view by inheriting which class? View class. Getting on? Okay, so view class is a super class. View class is a super class for all the views. All the views means these views can be either predefined views. Now Django provides some predefined view classes. Okay, either it is predefined view class or it is what? User defined view class. Any view class, either it is predefined view class or user defined view class, it must be inherit. Which class here? View class. Understood? What is a yes or no? So how you are developing a view by inheriting which class? View class. So view is a base class for all the classes. So view class is a super class for all the views that can be either predefined views or what? User defined views. So what is the syntax? What is the syntax of writing this class? Now you are writing a view class here. Class. You write a class. Now what is the class name? Your view class name. You define a view class name. View class name. And this view class must be inherit which class? View class. Okay. So every view must be inherit which class? View class. So here you need to inherit which class here? View class. You must inherit which class? View class. Okay. Then where you write the functionality of the view, I say no, view will take the request or not. Yes. How many types of request methods will be there? Lot of request method. HTTP having so many request methods like get method, post method, put method, delete method, options method. Like this, you have a lot of request methods. For every request method, the view class provide one method. For every request method, view class provide one method. Which method? Request method. For example, if it is a request method is a get, then you override which method? Get method. And all these are which methods here? Instance methods. Okay, now are you writing everything in one function? No. If the request method is a get, then it is handled by which method? Get method. So here you are writing which logic? Get logic. Here you are writing which logic? Get logic. Okay, in the same way, if it is a post method, then you are overriding which method? Post method. You are overriding a post method, and here you are writing which logic? Post logic. Here you are writing a get logic. Here you are writing what? Post logic. If it is a put method, then you are trying to override which method? Put. And here you are saying self put comma request. And this is which logic? Put logic. This is which logic here? Put logic. Getting or not? In the same way, if it is a delete, if the request method is a delete, then you try to write the logic belongs to the delete into what here? Delete method. Now self comma request, and here you have a which logic? Delete logic. Getting or not? Okay, now every request method, there is a separate method is there or not? Yes. But when it comes to the function based view, everything you are writing in one function only by using if and else. If request method is post, do this. Else if request method is put, do this. Else if request method is get, do this. So in one function only I'm using if and else. But here are using any if and else or separate methods? Separate methods. Now you are writing a get logic in get method, post logic in post method, put logic in put method, delete logic in what? Delete method. Getting on. So maintaining your code also becomes what here? Easy. Maintaining your code also becomes what? Easy. So once you develop a view class, okay, always you call the view. How you call the view? You call the view by using URL. You call the view by using what? URL. But whenever you are saying caller must be what? Callable. See, this is a class. Is it object is a callable? No, object is not a callable. You create an object of a class. Can you call the object? No. Which one is a callable? Function is a callable. Which one is a callable? Function is a callable. Object is not a callable. You can call the function. When you call the function, it execute the functionality or not? Yes. You create an object of a class. When you call the object, will it execute functionality? No. You should call the functionality of that object by using object name. But I want to, whenever you send a request to the view, you send a request to the view by using URL or not? Yes. That URL is bind with what? View. But that view must be which one? Callable. But is it object is a callable? No, object is not a callable. Now you should convert this object, view object into what? Callable object. Callable object. For that, you are using one method called as view. There is one method called which one? As view. So next step is here. Override the methods of view class or override what? Attributes. After overriding the attributes, what you have to do? You have to define the URL. Okay, URL or path. URL or path for which one? View. Where you define that in URL configuration file. And what is that URL configuration file? URLs.py. You define that path in URLs configuration file. And what is that URLs configuration file? URLs.py. URLs.py. Right? So now how you define URL path or URL or path for which one? Class based view. But class is not a callable. Object is not a callable. You have to convert this. You should convert this object into what? Callable. Now, how you are writing it, the syntax is, okay, you try to write like this in urls.py. In urls.py, you are using a path and you define here what? Path. You define the path or what is that? URL. You define the path or what? URL, comma, and you have to give the class name, right? So view class name, you need to give view class name. View class name. You are saying view class name. The class name what you create. But is it this class is a callable? This class is a callable or not a callable? Not a callable. Then you should convert this into what? Callable. For that, you are using one method, class level method. And what is that method is as view. Now this will convert your class into what here? Callable object or callable functionality. Getting on it? Because generally what you required here, actually what you required here, function. Function is callable. Who's calling the function? Server. Server is calling this view by sending which object? Request object. But here, what you are giving? Function name or class name? Here, are you giving function name or class name? Class name. Okay, view class name. You are giving view class name. Is it class is the callable? No. Then you should convert this class into which one? Callable. It should be a callable. Then how you convert this class into a callable? By using which method? As view method. Now this is converting your class into what? Callable object. Okay, right? Now this is the second thing what you have to do it. Converting your class into a callable object by using a method called which one? As view. Because class is not a callable. Class is not callable. So what will happen internally? So generally everything from the class you can call it dynamically. So what will happen internally is your server identifies. When you're saying as view means now internal it calls one function and that function verifies the programmer, the client is send a request using which method. If the request method is get, it will call which method? Get method. If the request method is post, it will call which method? Post method. Getting or not, right? Yes. It means you are saying view class name dot as view. As view means actually what you are trying to do, calling one function. Which function are you calling? Generally, whenever you say path, it will call one function. Which function? As view function. Which function? As view function. What as view function is doing? It is identifying the client is sent a request using which method. Is it request is sent by using get method or post method or yes? Based on that, it will call appropriate method from this view class. But actually, you are binding this URL with which function? As view. As view is a method of which class? View class. But are you calling get method? Are you calling get method or post method, put method or delete method? No. You are calling one view. You are calling one view. Which view are you calling? As view. You are calling one view. What is that view you are calling? As view. And this as view, what it is doing? It is identifying. The client is send a request using which method. Based on that, it will call get method or post method or what? Put or delete methods. Right? So this is what people says, okay, this is converting class into a callable. Converting class into what? Callable by using which method? As view method. And this is a class level method. And this is bind with what name? This is bind with what name? Class name. This is bind with class name. Right? Yes. You understood this? Up to this clear? Okay. So what is the base class for all the views? View class. If you want to develop a view by using a class base, then that class must inherit which class? View class. Anything. Suppose you are working with exceptions, exception handling, right? You know exception handling. In exception handling, you try to use two types of exceptions. One is predefined exceptions, and one more is what? User-defined exceptions. Predefined means provided by Python, like value error, type error, zero division error. All these are which exception classes? Predefined exception classes. Apart from that, can you build your own exception classes? Yes. How you build your own exception classes? By narrating exception class. So that is user defined. In the same way, now exception provides some set of rules and regulations. All the classes cannot rise. All the classes cannot rise. Which one can be raised? Only exception type. With the rise keyword, which class you can use? Only the class which inherit which class? Exception class. The class which inherit which class? Exception class. Only that class you can use it. But you cannot use any other class. The class which inherit exception class, only that class you can use, but you cannot use any other class. Getting on, right? So here also,